While many were already skeptical about the 2021 Alaska cruise season, the Canadian government delivered another shocking blow to the cruise industry last week. Essentially, the Canadian Minister of Transport updated travel orders, now banning cruise vessels in all Canadian waters until February 28th of 2022. While this move has some questioning if the 2021 Alaska cruise season can still happen, we're optimistic. You want to know why? I'm DEB from EatSleepCruise.com, and we take a look at how the 2021 Alaska cruise season can still happen. Alaska is one of the top cruise destinations. Unlike the Caribbean though, Alaska is a seasonal cruise region. This means that you're only able to cruise to Alaska during select months of the year. Generally speaking, the Alaska cruise season runs from late April, early May through the end of September. The height of the season is around July, with over 1 million cruisers traveling to Alaska each year. More and more cruise lines and ships are sailing to the region every year. Many of the southeastern Alaskan ports that cruise ships frequently visit depend heavily on tourism. Given the devastating economic impact from the global pandemic in 2020, many were hoping to salvage at least part of the 2021 Alaska cruise season. Most of the major cruise lines have already suspended through April 30th of 2021. Princess Cruises and Holland American Line are two lines with the biggest presence in Alaska, and they have already extended beyond that date. Princess Cruises' current pause in global operations is until May 14th of 2021. Holland American Line has even canceled Alaska sailings through early June. Further, just recently, Royal Caribbean canceled all Quantum of the Sea sailings in Alaska this season. Instead, the brand is leaving the ship in Asia, where she is currently sailing. Still, there is some hope for the 2021 Alaska cruise season. While we are still optimistic, the Canadian Minister of Transport announcement last week extending the ban on cruise ships that was set to expire at the end of this month does call into question which ships and how many ships can actually sail to Alaska. This new order applies to cruise vessels in all Canadian waters from now until February 28th of 2022. This applies to cruise vessels carrying more than 100 people. Now, along with this order, the government of Canada continues to advise Canadian citizens and permanent residents to avoid all travel on cruise ships outside of Canada until further notice. Many cruise line itineraries do depart from Vancouver, British Columbia, though many also complete round-trip cruises from Seattle and one-way itineraries to and from Alaska ports. So that has some individuals wondering, why is the Canada travel ban such a big deal? Canada's ban on cruise ships is a big deal for cruise lines due to a series of old US laws, specifically the Passenger Vessel Services Act of 1886, which is sometimes mistakenly referred to as the Jones Act. This act states that no foreign flag vessel shall transport passengers between ports or places in the United States. While enacted before cruise ships, this law still applies. The exemption allows cruise ships to embark and disembark passengers in the same US port, provided the ship visits a foreign port during the itinerary. Thus, an Alaskan cruise always visits a port in Canada, usually either Victoria or Vancouver, British Columbia. The same holds true for fall cruises that depart from ports like New York or Boston. These itineraries will visit many historic ports in the New England area, but will also include a foreign port to satisfy this law, like Halifax, Nova Scotia. So of course, initially, Canada's announcement dealt a big blow to Alaska cruises as well as those fall New England cruises. But all is not lost, as the 2021 Alaska cruise season can still happen. If cruise lines can demonstrate effective health and safety protocols for a resumption of cruising in compliance with the CDC's conditional sail order, it is possible they could receive a waiver to this law. This could allow Alaska cruises to operate and visit US ports. The law has been suspended in the past to allow cruise vessels to operate in US waters and travel between US ports without stopping at a foreign port. However, these waivers are often temporary and for very specific reasons. To allow several non-US flagships to sail in Alaska would take an act of Congress, quite literally. However, US flagships are not bound by this law, so cruise lines with these vessels would still be able to cruise between Alaska ports as long as they do not enter Canadian waters. For example, Norwegian Cruise Line is one of the only major brands to have a US flagship, the Pride of America. To date, the cruise line hasn't made any mention about repositioning that ship, which is currently docked in Hawaii, to the Pacific Northwest. In addition, there are other small cruise lines that can still cruise to Alaska this season with possibly modified itineraries. These include brands like American Cruise Lines, Uncruise Adventure, and Lindwall Expedition. there's also the possibility that the cruise lines could still offer land-based programs if they're not able to come to any reconciliation for the cruise-based portion of these popular land and sea journeys offered in Alaska. Still, it is also possible that the Canadian government could reverse these interim orders if pandemic conditions improve and the cruise lines are able to demonstrate their abilities to carry out these cruises safely. Some brands have commented to news outlets stating they're assessing the situation and their options to preserve at least a portion of the 2021 Alaska cruise season. Still, no official cancellations have been made. However, some cruise lines are hedging their bets. For instance, Royal Caribbean has removed all Alaska 2021 sailings from its website for the time being. So while they haven't officially canceled sailings, you cannot currently book an Alaska cruise for 2021 with the brand. The same holds true for its sister brand, Celebrity Cruises, which has currently removed all 2021 Alaska cruises from its website. So it may look like that the major cruise lines will be operating at best at reduced capacity this year later in the season. However, the previously mentioned US-based cruise lines are still planning to sail to Alaska. These smaller boats are not bound by the CDC regulations, and as long as they are able to avoid Canadian waters, they can still cruise between US-based ports without having to visit a foreign port. If the Alaska cruise season is a wash again, it will not only be devastating to Alaska economy, but also to the cruise lines. Many cruise lines go all in on Alaska cruises during the summer months. Not to mention, these cruises also come at a higher price point than Caribbean and Bahama itineraries. Thus, there's more financial loss for the cruise industry as Alaska cruises tend to make more money per passengers. Only time will tell the fate of the entire 2021 Alaska cruise season. Now, if this uncertainty has you worried, then there's no better time than the present to start planning a 2022 Alaska cruise. And there you have it. That's our look at how the 2021 Alaska cruise season can still happen. But of course, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comment section below whether you think the major cruise lines will be able to sail to Alaska this summer. I'm DB from EatSleepCruise.com, and if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, or you've been lurking around for a while and haven't done so, what are you waiting for? Make sure to subscribe down below and to click the notification icon. That way you get updated each week when we put out brand new cruise and travel videos. You can also say hi to us all over social media at Eat Sleep Cruise, and thanks again for watching.